hello to my guests who have joined me. My name is Deanna. I am going to be your hummus instructor for today. We'll be getting started in about 5 minutes. We want to make sure that everyone who is able to join today is able to. We'll also be going live on Instagram or LinkedIn, so whoever is out there watching over there, hello. Right now, I'm just sharing some prep instructions. The most important is, of course, having a space to create hummus today, so probably being in your kitchen would be really helpful. The other great things to prepare are your cans of chickpeas. Get those open, and then we'll do everything else together, but having them open will be really useful so you can kind of quickly get into things. We're also going to plug in our blender, so if you have a blender of any sort, that would be very helpful. It's okay if it's a big blender or a small blender or an immersion blender. Any blender will work. So again, we're going to give it just a few more minutes, but I hope everyone's very excited. I know I am, because hummus is absolutely delicious and so versatile, and there's so much you can do with it. So I can't wait to be able to share these recipes with you. All right. So again, we'll give it just a few more minutes for some other folks to join. If you are not making hummus with us today, but you want to make it at a later date, we are also going to be recording this to post it on YouTube, so you'll be able to see these recipes being created again. Hello, hello. I see people popping in. Hello, Alice and Brittany and Arian out there. Thank you so much for joining our hummus making community event today. All right, and hello to anyone who is joining on LinkedIn or Instagram. Hello, it's so good to see you. We're gonna get very tasty today with some yummy hummus. While we wait just another couple minutes for anyone else who is coming to join, let me just refer you to our prep instruction slide here. So if you are making hummus with me today, live in the moment, you could go ahead and start doing a few things. Lower the volume here a bit. We are going to need to get open 2 cans of chickpeas. So if you received a kit today, or if you purchased any ingredients, you're going to need 2 cans of chickpeas or garbanzo beans. We're going to have those open and ready to go. All you have to do is open them. We're going to do the rest together. You will also need a blender. That'll be really important to have, as we're going to be blending this. Now, any blender will work. We make it work whether it's a large blender or a small blender. I'll be using just like a blender I typically use for smoothies, but I use it for making hummus as well. So those are like a smaller blender cup. I've seen people use immersion blenders. I have also seen people without blenders that have just like mushed up all their stuff with like a potato masher. So you can do that too. We can make it work, a little bit more work to do it that way. So if you do have a blender, it'd be great. Have that plugged in and near your space where you're going to be creating this today. Being in the kitchen is probably your best bet. We do have some other kitchen equipment that would be really great to have out, like a cutting board. some bowls or containers to put your hummus in. Some salt. We'll give it just one more moment, but hello everyone. If you have any questions, please drop them into the chat box. You should have access to that chat box and you can chit chat in there, ask any questions. I'm happy to help and also just hear what you have to say. All right, well, let's go ahead and kick the party off here. So again, hello everyone. My name is Deanna. If you have just joined me, either here on Zoom or on LinkedIn or on Instagram, or if you're watching this in the future later on YouTube, it is so great to meet you. My name is Deanna. We are, of course, going to be creating some delicious hummus together today. Right now, we want to make sure that we have 2 cans of chickpeas opened up and ready to go. So grab a can opener, open those up, and just have them out on the side. We're going to need a blender plugged in. So I've got my blender here. This could be a large blender, a smaller blender, an immersion blender. If you do not have a blender and you are desperate to make hummus, we can make it work. We're just going to be using maybe a potato masher or a fork, or maybe we're just going to get in there with our hands. So all up to you. Great question, Brittany. We are not going to drain the chickpeas just yet. We're going to do that all together. So I'll give everyone a moment to drain them. All right. Hello. But really good question. All right. So while you sort of set up your stations and get some things prepared, um, we are going to talk a little bit about our experience. So we're going to be making 2 delicious hummus together today. One is going to be pumpkin spice in honor of the fall season because we are officially in fall, which is very exciting. I'm calling you from upstate New York, which is beautiful, of course, this time of year. The trees have changed colors. The leaves are so gorgeous, although it's a little too warm still for my liking. So I'm waiting for the cold front to come in, but it is beautiful. And then we're making a honey sriracha to add a little spice to our lives. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and we are going to really hop into our hummus. So again, if you did not meet me, my name is Deanna, your very good friend, here to guide you through our hummus making today. Now, I'm very excited to share this event with you because hummus is one of my favorite things. It is absolutely delicious. It's in my fridge constantly, and I use it for such a variety of things. Of course, it's a fabulous dip, but it's also really great to use for salad dressings. I have a variety of hummus at all times. It's really fun base for a salad dressing to change things up. I put it on sandwiches. I put it on toast and top it with an egg, or really anything that comes to mind. And I'm like, hummus would be good in this. So drop in the chat box if you also love hummus, or if you're home, you can just like raise your hand, like I love hummus. But hummus is really great not only for its versatility, but also because it's really cool. It's an ancient recipe. And we know that it originated somewhere in the Middle East, although exactly where is kind of hotly debated. But popular theories suggest the recipe dates all the way back to the 13th century, which is pretty incredible. I just think it's amazing food that has traveled across time and space, right? And we're still eating it today. And you may have noticed, especially in recent years, that the hummus section of your grocery store has continuously expanded. There is now hummus of so many different varieties, even chocolate hummus, which is very tasty too. So it kind of just continues to grow. And there's a lot of iterations on it, which I think is really fun when it comes to food because I love experimenting, I love variety, and I love food that you can iterate on and just kind of use up what you got and really get creative with because food is all about creativity and using your imagination, right? So it's a really wonderful way to get creative with flavors, with taste. Now, to make hummus, all you need is chickpeas, sesame paste or tahini, which you're going to find in your kit, garlic, olive oil, lemon juice, and a little salt. Today, of course, we're going to be spicing that base up by adding some extra fun ingredients to show you, again, great ways to experiment with your hummus base, like adding pumpkin spice or adding some sriracha or some sweetness. So it's really fun. All right. Okay. Please let me know if you have any questions in the chat box. But our very first step is actually going to be to prepare some garlic. So I'm going to have you prepare 1 garlic clove today. So inside of your kit, if you received a kit or if you're following along with ingredients maybe you have at home, you're going to grab your head of garlic and I want you to grab 1 garlic clove. I'm going to pan my camera down so you can kind of see my workspace here, see what I'm doing. But I've got garlic here. I remove the skin of this garlic. In order to remove the skin, pretty simple. You could take the blade of your knife, the flat side of your knife, place it onto your garlic clove, press down onto the garlic until you hear a little bit of a crack. That crack just helps to loosen up the skin of the garlic so you can peel it off. All right? So right now, we're just peeling the skin of our garlic. That's the easiest way that I find for just 1 clove of garlic, but whatever way works for you to peel it off. So give everyone a moment to do that. Once you have removed the skin, I always like to make sure I cut off just like the really very small but kind of hard nub at the end of your garlic. And then we're going to roughly chop the garlic. Now, this is, of course, going into a blender, so we don't need to go crazy. But what I like to do is take my garlic clove and have it on its side. And then I roughly chop some garlic circles, right? So I just kind of chopped it on its side, giving me these little tiny garlic circles or garlic coins. Once you have those little garlic circles, I like to just kind of pile them up, place them in a small little pile. You can kind of tower them, whatever works for you. And then I'm just going to take my knife and I'm going to very roughly just run through those pieces just to cut them kind of small. They don't need to be any particular size or shape. It's almost like we're mincing them, but we're not going like a step too far where we've made them like too tiny. They just need to be roughly small just to help when they're in the blender to make sure that it gets nice and blended up and incorporated easily. 1 clove of garlic that's whole inside the blender can kind of get lost in there with all the stuff in there. So we kind of want to make sure our garlic is nice and dispersed throughout. So again, I have just very roughly chopped this garlic, no particular size or shape, just smaller pieces to kind of help get nice and incorporated when we're blending. All right, I am then going to just place this garlic clove to the side. Okay. I am placing this garlic clove to the side in a little pile. Because we are going to need it in just a moment for this first hummus that we're going to create, which is a nice sweet sriracha hummus. So nice sweet sriracha. Once you have the garlic clove off to the side, we're going to turn to one of our cans of chickpeas, right? So you opened up 2 cans of chickpeas. We're going to turn to one of them. I want you to drain the liquid from your can of chickpeas and then give your chickpeas a rinse, okay? So you're just going to drain the liquid from the chickpeas. Now, we won't need that liquid, but you absolutely can if you want to save it. Some people will like to save the liquid from your beans. We call it aquafaba. It's just basically just bean water, but it's used in lots of different recipes. It's really great kind of vegan replacement for like egg whites. You can make whipped cream or meringue with it. We will not need it today though, so if you don't want to save it, you could absolutely get rid of it. So right now we are draining the liquid from our can of chickpeas. Just from the first one, we'll work with 1 can at a time. And then you're going to give those chickpeas a quick rinse with some water in the sink. When you're done doing that, you will place them into your blender cup. Place them into your blender cup. So that'll be the very first thing in our cups. The next thing you're going to want to do once you have them in your cup, and let me just give everyone a moment to kind of drain and rinse. So take a second to do that. And while you do that, I'm going to kind of just chit chat at you for a second. So one of the ingredients I said earlier that's in hummus is tahini, which is, of course, sesame paste. It's ground up sesame seeds. Now you will only find one in your kit, and that's because we're only going to use it actually for one of our hummus recipes today. Because we want to show you a few things. We want to show you that you can make hummus without sesame paste in case you can't get it. Maybe it's not available where you live, or in case you can't have sesame seeds, right? So just to show you that it's not absolutely necessary. So this very first hummus we are going to make without tahini. And we're going to tell you some tricks on how to get your hummus kind of nice and fluffy and smooth, which is definitely one of the things that tahini helps us to do. All right, so we have our blender cups. We have 1 can of chickpeas that we have drained and rinsed. We're going to add our clove of garlic. So I want you to grab that clove that we roughly chopped up and place it into your blender cup. So 1 clove of garlic into our blenders. The next thing that we're going to need is some lemon juice. Now you will have received this small lemon juice bottle. In case you have never opened up one of these before, what you want to do is open up just the top, just a little flap, the little cap of the bottle. And you're going to see a small hole. You're going to want to stick something kind of sharp into that so that it punctures the plastic on the inside and creates this small hole that we could kind of squeeze the lemon juice through. So something slightly sharp. So you might want to use the tip of a knife. I'll show you. You could use the sharp tip of a knife, open up the cap, place the sharp tip right into that small hole and pierce it. I like to pierce in a couple different directions just to kind of open up the plastic a little bit more. I find it helpful so that you can get a little bit more juice coming out. All right, you're also going to need a measuring spoon. So take a moment, open up your lemon juice bottle, grab yourself a measuring spoon. I'm using a tablespoon measuring spoon. I'll just need a tablespoon. All right, and your next step is going to be measuring out 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. Measure out 2 tablespoons of lemon juice into your blender cups. After your lemon juice, you're going to find some olive oil in your kit, which is, of course, one of the most beautiful things in the universe. I love olive oil. You will need 2 tablespoons of olive oil. So go right ahead, open up this bottle of olive oil and measure out 2 tablespoons. Great. The next thing you're going to find in your kit is some honey. You're going to find a very small honey jar. Take a moment to open up your little tiny honey jar. And we'll measure out 1 tablespoon of honey. Now, this honey jar has about 2 tablespoons in it. We're gonna measure out just one for our hummus itself. And then we could use some of the leftover hummus later as like a nice little garnish, a little drizzle on top of our hummus. So we've opened up our little mini honey jar and we've added 1 tablespoon of honey to our chickpeas in our blender cups. Now this is a sweet sriracha hummus. We do want to bring some heat. Inside of your kit that you're working with today, you will see 2 packets of sriracha. For the base of our hummus, we're only going to be working with 1 packet. So find 1 packet. And then you could open that 1 packet up, and I suggest pouring the whole thing in. But if you are quite worried, maybe you're like, I really cannot handle any spice, you could maybe put just half of your packet in, and then later, if you want a little more spice, you can garnish with some extra sriracha. So I'll repeat that with the sriracha. I have added 1 whole packet. I strongly suggest 1 whole packet. But if spice is just like really, really not your thing, maybe try half of a packet. And then later, if you feel like you could have maybe done with a bit more, you could always add a nice little drizzle garnish of sriracha on top. Now, the same goes if you love spice. You do have 2 packets of sriracha. So if maybe you only added 1 packet, right? We're going to add 1 packet to this, but you want a little bit more spice later on. Maybe it's just not like kicked up to the notch that you want it. You could absolutely use the other packet as a nice garnish. All right, in just a moment, I will repeat everything that's in my blender cup, but the last thing to do before I repeat is to give this a nice pinch of salt. If you'd like to measure, this is going to be 1 teaspoon of salt, but you could also just do a nice pinch of it. All right, to make sure we're all on the same page, we have 1 whole can of drained and rinsed chickpeas in our blender cups. We have 1 garlic clove that we roughly chopped. We have 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 1 tablespoon of honey, and 1 packet of sriracha. And we've added a nice pinch of salt or half a teaspoon if we are measuring it out. Now at this point, this is where things can slightly vary. The first thing to note is that if you have ice, you could add 1 to 2 ice cubes to your blender cups. And that's actually going to help your hummus kind of get nice and fluffy. It helps to aerate things inside, so it helps to make it nice and smooth. And that's something that's really helpful when we're not using tahini, right? We're not using tahini in this recipe. So adding 1 to 2 ice cubes could really help to get that nice kind of smooth creaminess and fluffiness. So you can go ahead and do that. Add 1 to 2 ice cubes. And depending on your blender cup, you might need to add a little extra water. So my suggestion is to start blending. We want to blend until smooth. But if your blender is having any difficulty blending, if it's not budging or it's not very smooth, add excuse me, 1 tablespoon of cold water at a time until it gets smooth. With the size of the blender cup I'm using today and the type of blender I'm using, I already know that I need to add around 2 tablespoons of cold water automatically just because I always make hummus, so I know what usually works for me. So I'm going to go ahead and add my cold water, but I'll repeat that for everyone. So we're going to be adding some ice, right? 1 to 2 ice cubes. That's going to help to get this nice fluffiness and smoothness to our hummus. We're going to blend until smooth, until nice and smooth, creamy, almost slightly loose, but you don't want it to be too thick, but you don't want it to be too watery. So it's nice kind of vaguely loose mixture. If you're having any difficulty blending, if you're using maybe a small blender like I am, or you just want to get a little bit looser, you could absolutely add 1 tablespoon of cold water at a time until it starts to blend. Please let me know if you have any questions in the chat box, but I'm going to start to blend mine up. All right, so mine's blended up. I will open up my blender cup. And you can grab whatever container you want. You might have received some plastic containers inside of your kit, or maybe you just want to throw it in a Tupperware that you'd rather put it in, or a bowl for serving. I'm pouring mine out. You'll see that mine, with the added water that I like to add, is nice and pourable. If yours is a little thicker, that's absolutely okay. And you could use a spatula. You might have received nice Foodcraft spatula in your kit. You can go ahead and use to help to get the hummus out of your blender cups. All right, but it's lovely. Now again, if you wanted to add a little sriracha to the top, you can as a lovely drizzle or garnish. You could also add a little drizzle of some honey, which is very pretty on top. All up to you to add a little extra sweetness or a little extra spice, or just eat as is, but you have the option. Now we might be all in different places right now as our blenders are working at different times, but I hope that you love it when you try it. This one's a really nice mixture of sweet and spicy, which is one of my favorite combinations. I love things spicy, but I love that kind of balance of the sweetness with it as well. Like a hot honey is one of my favorites. I'd love to know if you tried it, if you want to drop into the chat box what you would eat this with, if like anything immediately comes to mind. This one I think is really great on some toast in the morning. Pop an egg on top, like a nice over easy egg, maybe a little extra drizzle of some sriracha. It's a really lovely addition to your breakfast. I love adding like a nice colorful breakfast. So if you're big in avocado toast, you could have another slice of toast there with some hummus on top. But this is also really great, like I said, salad dressing. So this is a really fun base for a salad dressing. All right, maybe just your favorite chips, some pretzels, which you might have received in your kit. You can go ahead and eat with that. I make a lot of Mediterranean bowls. So it's always nice to have a dollop of hummus. And I've definitely heard recently from people in a hummus class that someone had made a Mediterranean bowl. They were like, I'm making that tonight for dinner and this is going right in it. So those are just some options. All right, let's hop into our second and final hummus together, which is our pumpkin spice. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna place this hummus off to the side. Okay. And we're going to prepare for our hummus, our pumpkin spice hummus, which might be a little controversial take. Some people love pumpkin spice, some people don't. Some people really pumpkin spice and hummus. I'm not sure about that combination, but bear with me and try it out because it's very interesting and very tasty, right? And of course, we are celebrating fall today, so we have to celebrate with some pumpkin spice. So some things that you can do right now, if you are using the same blender cup, just go ahead and give it a quick rinse out in the sink. So if you are using the same blender cup, let's give that a nice quick rinse in the sink. So I'll give everyone a moment, rinse their blender cups out, only if you need to. All right. And then you're going to, just like with our first hummus, you're going to take your can of chickpeas and you're going to drain and rinse them in the sink. So go ahead, drain them out into a strainer or a colander and give them a quick rinse in the sink. And then you can place them in your blender cup. All right, so we drained, we rinsed, it's in our blender cup. You're going to find your lemon juice again. We're going to need 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. Two tablespoons of lemon juice. Then you're going to find your olive oil. We need 4 tablespoons of olive oil for this one. 4 tablespoons. Four tablespoons of olive oil for this one. In your kit, you're going to find a packet of tahini, right? Our sesame paste. I would suggest just giving it a nice little squeeze, just kind of giving it a little massage. This one is a nice squeezable packet, so it shouldn't be too bad, but sometimes tahini will separate and kind of harden, like the oils will separate, almost like very similar to a natural peanut butter if you've ever had. So giving it a nice massage is really helpful. And then you're going to pour the whole entire packet of tahini into your blender cup. The whole packet of tahini. Okay. All right. After you place the whole packet of tahini, you are going to find a little packet of pumpkin spice. You're going to have a little packet of pumpkin spice. We're going to add 1 tablespoon of pumpkin spice, which is the whole entire packet. So your whole packet of pumpkin spice, which smells delicious. 'Tis the season. And then we just need a nice pinch of salt. Again, half a teaspoon if you'd like to measure it, or just a generous pinch. All right, I'm just going to repeat that to make sure we are all on the same page. We have a whole can of drained and rinsed chickpeas. We have 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, 4 tablespoons of olive oil, your whole entire packet of tahini, which is 2 tablespoons, your whole packet of pumpkin spice, which is 1 tablespoon, and then a nice generous pinch of salt or half a teaspoon. And then just like with the first one, if you want to add an ice cube or two, you can. Now we do have tahini in there, but if you found that the ice cube was really helpful in making it nice and fluffy and smooth, go ahead and add 1 to 2 ice cubes. And if you had any difficulty with the blending of the first one and you found out that it was helpful to add some cold water, you can do that too. So 1 tablespoon of cold water at a time. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead, add a little of my cold water. And then we will blend until nice and smooth, creamy, slightly loose. Ooh, someone said they can't wait to try it with some grilled chicken. Yeah, absolutely. A little grilled chicken would be lovely. And like a nice bowl, or just like grilled chicken. I feel like a little grilled chicken and like quinoa or couscous, some cucumbers and tomato and feta cheese, and a nice dollop of hummus. So I'm going to place mine in the blender cup and I'm blending. All right, I think mine is done. All right. I will have my container right near me. And this one I think came out a little thicker. I'm going to use my spatula to kind of help it make its way out. It's lovely though. Beautiful texture. And with this one, of course, in the spirit of pumpkin spice, get a little more out. And fall and warm spices, we have included some cinnamon. So you have a cinnamon packet. So if you'd like to go ahead and give it a nice little dash of cinnamon from your cinnamon packet as a fun garnish, and it also just makes it very picture perfect. So you could absolutely do that as well, right? And that, my friends, is our final hummus. And so it's lovely. So you have two fabulous hummuses here. Nice sweet sriracha, one that brings some nice warming spices, especially with that cinnamon on top. So I hope that you enjoyed. This one is, I feel like would be very good with some pretzels, maybe some graham crackers, or really even in a savory dish as well. Because warm spices are wonderful in savory dishes too. So have fun with it. Really experiment with what you use these with because you have a lot. Share them with your family, with your friends, whoever's over there. And before we hop out of our call together today, I am just going to share really quick my screen one last time. Let me get this presented just to talk a little bit about some workshops that we have coming up for the rest of the year. So first, I just want to thank you so incredibly much for joining me. These community events are really wonderful to be able to just share new recipes or new crafts, and we really like putting them on. So whether you were just watching along today, and maybe you're like, all right, maybe I'll try that in the future, or maybe you're watching and creating it with me. Either way, I really appreciate you joining. So let's talk about our upcoming workshop. So I want you to save the dates, get that in your calendar. November 5th, we're doing mindful doodling. So this is really nice. This is a very relaxing doodling class. we all need a moment of like forced relaxation. And mindful doodling is definitely one of those things. So if you haven't taken a moment to yourself, especially by November, which we're going to be getting into the holiday season, you're going to need a moment. So come mindful, doodle with us, get creative, or let your mind just kind of go and relax. And then in December, December 3rd, we will be meeting reindeer. So that would really get you in the spirit. We're going to be meeting a pack of reindeer, and they're absolutely adorable. We'll learn all about them. So it's going to be pretty awesome to have like a virtual face to face with some reindeer. So definitely mark your calendars. Do not miss it. Thank you so much again for everyone who joined me today or anyone who's watching in the future. I hope you enjoy your hummus. I appreciate it so much. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye. Thank you, everyone.